All right, so I wanted to make a video that is for either plus size individuals or people that are advanced in age, older in age, whether that's you or a family member who's maybe thinking about picking up a total gym or some form of sliding bench, and maybe just has some questions on its general use and also maybe some special considerations to kind of think about if you're going to be using a machine like that. I've been wanting to make a video like this for some time. I know plenty of people in my own life who either are thinking about using this machine or could definitely benefit from something like this. Either they're older, they got joint problems, they feel like they can't do a lot of physical activity or especially resistance training, and even really I got a lot of people close to me that are in that morbidly obese category that are really struggling just to find some form of exercise that they can actually do. And the beauty of this total gym machines like this is that it really can work and applies to all different types of people. A lot of people can reap benefits from it, whether you're young or old or different sizes. So I'm going to get into ways of using the machine that are going to, one, kind of make sure you kind of consistently use it. Some simple programming ideas and the way we're going to approach your machine. I'll talk about some special considerations for those two groups that I talked about. Again, people that are kind of more in the plus size and or people that are kind of older. So with that, I'll talk about some specific exercises in these positions I'll go over that will help you guys I think that'd be less cumbersome exercise. There's a lot of exercise that you can see on the internet or even that come stock with a total gym that, in my opinion, I don't think will be the best choice for a lot of people. So I'm trying to think of some options and ways I think to make things a lot more simpler if you're kind of approaching a machine like this and not knowing where to start. So I'll put timestamps down below. I'll put links in the description box as always. If you guys like this content, please like and or subscribe. I don't know if I'll cover every single thing here. I want to make this fairly brief, but I'll do my best to kind of hit on the main areas I want to talk about. All right, the next thing I want to get into is just choosing the machine that fits you. I always put links down below with the weight limits on various total gym models. Weider Ultimate Body Works is also this great flex thing on Amazon. But choosing a machine that's going to fit your weight limit. Obviously, if you're within a certain weight limit, you're going to want to find a machine that's going to suit that. Your budget might be a concern as well. And if you're older, maybe if you're not in the plus size category, you can get by with getting a less expensive machine, which is totally adequate and doable. However, if you're older, you might want something that's a little more of a smoother experience, kind of feels a little less aggressive on your joints. So those higher and more expensive machines, especially the total gym models, will be kind of more your benefit. So I linked those down below. Like the total gym fit that I have is a good choice. The only thing that is, if you're older or more of a plus size, the board can be a little bit shorter, but still it can handle a decent amount of weight and very smooth experience at the moderate price tag. The Total Gym XLS is another great model. I linked that down below. It's not as expensive as the Total Gym Fit and kind of handles a good weight limit. And then there's the deluxe model of the Total Gym, which is probably the biggest one that I think can handle a decent amount of weight, but is also obviously very expensive and kind of like more premium model. So regardless, with that being said, I don't want to spend too much time on that. Just pick the model that's going to suit you. You guys can always ask me questions. I'd be happy to fill you in on that as well. Otherwise, if you're just older and you want just entry-level machine that isn't maybe the smoothest things in the world, but still very functional, I would definitely still recommend that Weider Ultimate Body Works, which I recommend many times on this channel. Still a good pickup, but that weight limit is still kind of low on that, like 250 pound weight limit. So that's something to kind of consider. Now, the next thing I'm going to transition to, which is going to take up the majority of this video, is looking at the total gym and approaching the total gym through 4 different positions. These are 4 simple positions to kind of think about with regards to when you do a workout. Maybe pick 1 or 2 of these exercises from each of these positions and kind of mix them up every other day. But these are 4 solid positions that you can work a variety of the whole entire body that really covers, I think, the main prime exercise that you really need to use and probably would utilize and be the most comfortable for those 2 populations. Those 4 positions I'm going to look at are going to be seated facing towards the machine. I'll have seated facing away from the machine, and then I'll have lying on your stomach on the machine, then lying on your back on the machine. All right, so I'm not gonna do anything really that fancy. First thing, as you guys are watching me do this, is I'm just making sure I put that safety pin. For some reason on my total gym, the safety pin likes to kind of pop out, but everyone says, make sure that safety pin is in there if you have a total gym. Hasn't happened to me, but it does collapse. So obviously, if you're in those 2 positions, you'd be kind of susceptible. I mean, obviously, with any population, you're going to be kind of careful that this thing doesn't collapse on you. So definitely be careful with that. Now, one thing is just kind of how are you going to sit in the machine. This might be kind of overkill. I'll address this lightly, but what is great is that the machine is very user friendly in the way you can kind of sit in and get out of it. On the lower settings, it can be kind of cumbersome. I'm doing it, whenever I do the machine, I like to kind of sit on my butt, but that might not be the most comfortable for if you're older or plus size, kind of sitting on your knees, sitting on your toes like that. What you can do though is do what I'm doing. I'm sitting up on my butt, I'm letting my legs either dangle, or I can use my legs, like you'll see a few times where my legs are on the ground and they're actually assisting me through various exercises. So I can use my legs to assist me. I'm also making sure that when I sit in the machine, I'm sitting, nice and upright. This is how I usually, for a lot of times, like to do exercises. It's just a different angle, and I kind of like the way it feels. But I definitely recognize that most people, if you're older, or again, if you're a bigger person, that's going to be kind of hard to get in that position. So you can see I'm showing you guys with my feet here here's a way where you can manipulate the tension as you guys are doing that. And I'm also trying to make sure that I'm also sitting, really upright and really tall through a lot of exercises. So that first exercise you saw me do, just a basic row, very simple thing of doing it. That's an exercise you can do. Here is a simple bicep curl, keeping the elbows out. All you're doing is essentially flexing the elbows, bringing yourself in. A couple times I'll show you guys some bad things to do, some ways not to do the exercise, but right now I'm going to show you what I think are all the exercises that I would probably choose from in each of the positions. Here's what you wouldn't want to do, okay? Seeing me kind of like crank the weight, some people do that. Notice the difference in me kind of using my shoulders and my arms at the same time. But I want you to sit up nice and tall, and then again, shoulder blades retracted, good posture, and then rowing in, kind of pulling ways you retract the shoulders. You can do different variations. If you're able to, you guys should be good to kind of have a slight rotation. It's good to kind of get some rotation in the spine once in a while if you're not used to doing that. So I wanted to kind of showcase that a little bit. I'm going to transition exercises here to something a little bit lower, just to kind of show you that for some people, maybe that high setting is kind of hard to get into, but I wanted to kind of show you, how would you kind of sit down and sit back up again. It's still fairly doable. You just might have to hold the weights to kind of get you in that low position. But so for a lot of people, I recognize, especially in those two population groups, you might never kind of get to that big incline. It might be kind of too heavy for you. So with this lower incline, the only thing you kind of have to deal with that way of don't do bicep curls like this. I was showing you kind of a wrong way of doing it. You might have to kind of get practice either kind of finding a good leg position where your legs can come off the ground a little bit like that, or pick them up in the air. If you guys are able to do that, it might stress your little lower back a little bit, just kind of sitting like that for a long period of time. But these pullovers, another great exercise. You don't have to worry about crazy range of motion. At any age, if at the very least, if you're just working your range of motion, that would be good to do. So that row and then this little pullover, bringing the arms down, are all exercises that are going to work your back and your lats. You can do some things like frontal raises, but this is going to be something that's pretty hard to do. I don't care what age you are. But I am using my legs here, as you guys can see, to kind of help pull myself in to make it easier. But what we're trying to do basically with especially all the limbs is increase that range of motion. So if you only can get here, that's fine. But if you can do an exercise where you can really work yourself to get a full range of motion, pain-free, that's always a good thing to kind of shoot for and aim towards. I'm going to show you guys another shoulder exercise, just working the back side of your shoulders, your posterior deltoids here, where you can do this rear delt fly. I cross the bands and I kind of open up this way. If you have a total gym, the beauty is this thing usually works pretty good. You might have to lean in a little bit further. Even with me doing this light tension, and I'm used to kind of going at higher intensities, going nice and slow like this was still tough for me. In fact, I was just kind of showing some exercises here, and I was giving myself definitely a full workout. I wanted to show you how I normally would do it. I would kind of kneel like this and do it, but again, I would recognize if you could do it, that'd be good, but for a lot of people, that might be kind of hard on your knees and ankles, and it might not be doable. So you can still do it this way. I'm showing you guys a frontal raise also in this low setting. That's another doable option. Those are all the main exercises that I would do seated facing the bench. Now I'm going to show you guys some exercises where you're going to be seated facing away from the bench. It shouldn't be too hard, too cumbersome to kind of get in the start position if you kind of walk around and get the bench to a higher position and just sit down. Basic chest press, what I'm trying to think about is pressing through the chest line. I like to kind of hold the grip where my grip is here and the bands are coming underneath my forearms. It feels a little more comfortable. Again, I can see what that might cause some discomfort. I'm showing you guys a little kind of more of incline press, another way of hitting the more upper part of your shoulder, chest, and also part of your shoulders. You can do this, but I think the regular chest press is good. Notice how my feet, I'm kind of positioning my feet a little bit differently. This would be harder with my feet off the ground. If I put my feet on the ground, it's a little more easier and doable. I'm showing you guys again another version of a frontal raise that we did before. Again, kind of a challenging exercise, I think, for anybody really, but you can use your legs to kind of push off like I'm doing, pushing off and then guiding you halfway up. I was gonna say that just work that range of motion again that is comfortable for you guys. Here's something else that's kind of like a fly. It's gonna be working, your chest, your shoulders as well. If you can kind of loop around and kind of like do a little squeeze at the top, that would be good. Some people, I realize, going out this far and starting from that vulnerable position might be kind of tough, so I kind of showed you one where it's down below and just kind of squeezing. But again, just showing you guys various options on how you can kind of sit on the bench. But what you guys are going to see here is just like I said before, these are primarily the biggest exercise that I'd recommend if you're seated facing away from the bench. These are pretty much almost all of them that I think would be best for those populations. Here's a bent over bicep curl. I'm kind of leaning over slightly so that my elbows, it doesn't cause me a lot of excess kind of like a torque in your shoulders. I don't want to excess kind of force in my shoulders. If I sit upright and just do curls like this, you could do curls like this, but it puts a little bit more unnecessary stress on the shoulders. So that's why I wanted to show you guys that, to kind of exaggerate it. You can seated and do away from the machine, do these overhead shoulder presses, but I notice for a lot of people, this might cause you to kind of bottom out. So what I would recommend for most people is just sit down, grab one dumbbell or one cable, and just press, try to press kind of through the middle of your ear line. It might be kind of difficult, kind of hard with one arm, but you can use that leg or take one leg off and kind of dissipate the force that way. So that's another option to kind of do a shoulder exercise that shouldn't cause you too much discomfort. And I'm just kind of showing you guys how you can slide down, use that squat rack as a kind of a boost. I'll talk, and also again, maybe keep something close to you to kind of get back up off the ground, because I recognize I'm training a lot of people that are plus size or older, and they have a really hard time getting up and off small surfaces, which is understandable. Here's a fly that I'm showing you. I'm using my legs to really help with this one. I'm also showing you a shorter range of motion if you want to see it that way. But you can do a chest fly, wrapping around, kind of squeezing with your chest muscles, doing a lot of that motion, obviously. But if you're not having your feet in the ground, I would think for a lot of people, if you're a plus size, that's going to be a lot of stress on your shoulders to kind of pull that much weight up. And if you're older, I know a lot of people, again, shoulders are one of those things as you get older, just doesn't feel as good as they used to. And I know a lot of people, my dad personally, has just had his shoulder replaced. So that stuff is a common thing, I know. So just only don't force any of these things. Now we're transitioning to face down, or third phase of exercises. We're facing down exercises you can do face down, laying down the machine. And I'm showing you guys a simple pullover exercise that's going to work your lats. And now you're seeing me kind of do a pullover into a tricep extension. So we're working our back, and then as we extend our elbows, we're working our triceps. You can also do a shorter range of motion. I'm just going to kind of bring my elbows in. It's kind of like a modified lat pullover. So if it's too hard to do a pullover with the arms extended, just bend them and just kind of bring them in. That's still a good exercise. Or I'm just showing you ways you can isolate your elbows as well. You can do some things where you put your feet on the ground and also kind of dissipate the weight. But I thought I'd just show you guys a couple of different angles here. Sorry, my kids are going to come in. I'm just showing you guys now a lat pull down, or like another back exercise where you're going to pull yourself up. So this one's pretty easy. It's not too stressful, I think, for most people. You can pull it off to the side, or you can kind of pull it in this way. Very easy. And what we're working on, guys, I mean, we're not trying to, you could get, I would say, like, build muscle doing this, but we're not trying to like big bodybuilder strong. We're kind of getting that range of motion. We're doing resistance training through nice, slow, fluid range of the motion. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to go ahead and attach the pull-up bar, which I think is on pretty much every sliding bench is going to have a pull-up bar. And the beauty of this one is that I think for most people, it's going to fit them quite well. Sorry, my video paused there. And what I like to do with this is kind of bring the bench up nice and high if you're a bigger person, and then kind of slowly kind of drag it in. And again, I'm sorry, you guys, because my video is pausing. Yours will not be. And just kind of going really slow and controlled, laying on the bench. Kind of self-explanatory. You really can't mess this one up too much. Just find an incline that works for you. Although I do think of all the exercises, that might be the hardest to kind of get off. So I'd be cautious. You have hard times getting up and down, how you approach that. This exercise, I just showed it because if you guys have a total gym, a lot of people I know that are older, and again, even plus size people like doing this exercise. This is like a bonus one. I wouldn't worry too much about this as being one of the big primary exercises to do if you're lying face down, but I just wanted to show it if it fit most people, but I think it's an extra one. This one right here, now we're transitioning to lying facing up on the machine. Again, we're showing you a different variation of a pullover. It's working the same muscles, just different position. Still working our lats, the side of our back muscles. And I'm just kind of showing you a very easy exercise. You also can do that lat pull down again, laying on your back face up this time. And now I'm showing you the pullover with straight arms. Now the elbows are straight and pulling over. Much harder, obviously, with a straight arm than it is with a bent arm pulling over. But so you can kind of work up to that. You can use your legs, as you guys will see here, to kind of dissipate that force and make it a little bit easier. Give yourself a little boost, or kind of, like I said, just give yourself a little more or less tension by using your legs. Going to help you. Same thing, you can use your legs by doing tricep extensions here. Again, I'm being mindful, if you're a bigger person, that's a lot of weight that you're going to be tricep extending, and also if you're older, that can be kind of hard on your elbows. So really use your legs here as your advantage. To me, this is something that I don't think is talked about enough as far as using a total gym, to really use your legs to manipulate that. That would be most of the exercises I just showed you guys for the 3 main positions I covered. So now we're still laying face up, and now I'm talking about the legs. If you guys do not have one of these bigger squat stands, I highly recommend picking it up directly from TotalGym.com, or there's a knockoff version that I linked down below that's cheaper on Amazon that you can also do. Makes a huge difference. If you have a smaller squat rack, if you're a big person or older person, I would highly suggest definitely picking this up instead of the stock smaller stand, because you'll end up squatting like this, where your knees are kind of going over your toes, and that's really just not good for your knees. For most people, I think for young people you can get away with it, but for older people, we want to have it so that you can get low and then pressing up with a nice flat foot. I like to kind of turn my feet out a little bit. I'm showing you guys a single leg version. You definitely don't have to do it this way. That's more extreme, but you can do a seated version as well, where you're kind of seated like this. My toes are turned out a little bit. They're nice and flat. I'm driving my knees out as I'm kind of squatting and pressing through my legs. That's definitely doable. And in my opinion, for those 2 populations I'm talking about today, this is probably enough tension for a lot of people to work your legs. I wouldn't worry about doing anything really extra other than this. Of course, you could do a lot of great body weight stuff, some other free weight stuff if you got it, but I'm talking about with this machine. You can do things like calf raises with this machine, single leg or double leg. And now I'm showing, again, a pair of resistance bands, which again, I linked these down below. I think these are still beneficial for both those populations. I'm showing you as a simple way to kind of load up some extra tension. If you guys are looking for some extra ways to increase intensity, that's still very low impact on your joints and knees, just hips, knees, and ankles. I'm going to show you guys a couple of variations. You can kind of load up a basic squat. And again, being mindful that there's tons more exercises we could do. I'm just thinking of the ones that I think would be the best ones I would pick for these 2 populations. You can wrap it around simply like that, hold it at the sides, and just hold the squat like that. In which case, holding it up front or over your head like I just showed you guys might be too hard. This is one that I think a lot of people could do it this way. You can also attach the band underneath the machine and then kind of hook it around the very bottom hook there, and so you can add some extra tension that way. That's another option for you guys. In working the legs. But again, the main thing is you're seeing me get kind of low, my hips are getting below the knees. You guys don't have to get that low. You can kind of stop about parallel to do a lot of these exercises. And so I'm just showing you the different angles with the Total Gym with it attached to some resistance. That was everything, guys, and I really sat down and kind of thought about it. I mean, not for an extreme long period of time, but I'm like, what are the major exercises that I would recommend to someone close to me, a friend, family member who is in one of those 2 areas. I know there's a lot of people that watch this channel. They're either older or, like I said, they're in that plus size category. They're trying to find exercises that will hit that resistance training kind of check mark in their workouts. Also something that's going to help them just use the machine and stay consistent. These would be all the exercises, in my opinion. Obviously, there's plenty more you can do, and no 2 people are the same, but these are the big exercises that I would choose from. So all I would do in kind of programming this, and like I said, everyone's different, tons of different variables. I would simply go through each of these 4 ways of kind of using the machine. Again, seated facing away, lying down, lying on your stomach, or lying on your back in the machine. Those 4 areas, pick and choose some exercises that you can do. I'm also, pick and choose maybe 2 to 3 exercises in that area, and just kind of repeat and just choose those. You don't want to overdo stuff. So if a lot of times you saw me doing pullovers on my back and then pullovers on my stomach, don't overdo the same exact exercise. Try and pick some different things. And I'm trying to talk really simple so that you don't have to overthink these things. You don't have to necessarily worry about like all these different body part names, everything like that. Just very simple. Pick some movement patterns that are a little bit different, and mix them up a little bit for maybe 5 to 8 to 10 exercises for maybe 2 sets. Even if you only get 1 set, 2 to 3 sets, something like that, with a rep range that you can control. Nothing really heavy where you're getting below 10 reps. I would say something between like 10 to 20 repetitions. Not trying to go to failure, just kind of moderate intensity when you guys are using this machine. that's pretty much it. And I'm also, a thought that came in my head is, I recognize there's people I know that, can't lay on their stomach. If they laid on their stomach and did some of these exercises, they might not be able to get back up. And same thing with laying on their back at a low incline. So I recognize these are just some ideas that might not fit everybody, but hopefully that you guys can kind of pick and choose ones that work for you. The beauty of this machine is, I think it's a very functional piece of equipment that will help a lot of variety of people. And give them at least some options that they otherwise wouldn't do. At the very least, if you're just kind of coming down and touching the machine once in a while, what I mean by that is just using the machine consistently, you're in good shape. That's a plus in my sign. What's not good is that you bought the machine and you're not using it. So hopefully this helps people who are just looking for options to do in their house, in one of those populations. If you're getting used to using it on a somewhat consistent basis for at least a little bit, at least every other day, I think that's a good sign. So any specific questions you guys have, let me know. If there's any other comments you guys have, it's always beneficial. Thank you guys for watching.